Once upon a time, in a dense green jungle surrounded by tall trees and sparkling streams, lived many animals who shared the land in peace. Among them were two creatures who couldn't be more different, an enormous elephant named Goro and a cunning little hare named Kibo. Though they both lived in the same forest, they rarely crossed paths. The elephant was slow, heavy, and proud of his great strength, while the hare was quick, small, and proud of his clever mind. One hot afternoon, as the sun burned brightly in the sky and the air shimmered with heat, Goro the elephant walked slowly to the riverbank to bathe. The ground trembled beneath his feet as he lumbered through the trees. When he reached the cool waters, he lifted his trunk and trumpeted loudly, shaking the branches above. Nearby, small animals scurried away, afraid of his mighty sound. Goro enjoyed that feeling of power. He believed no one in the forest could match his strength, not even the mighty buffalo or the strong tiger. As he splashed in the water, he said to himself, "I am the strongest creature in this forest. None can challenge me." His voice echoed through the trees. Not far away, Kibo the hare was resting in the shade of a bush, nibbling on some fresh shoots. When he heard the elephant's boast, he twitched his long ears and frowned. "So the big fellow thinks he's the mightiest of all," Kibo muttered. "Maybe it's time someone teaches him that strength is not everything." The hare was small, but he was known among the animals for his sharp wit and playful nature. He enjoyed solving problems and playing tricks that taught lessons. So he decided to challenge Goro, not with brute force, but with cleverness. The next morning, when the dew still sparkled on the leaves, Kibo hopped over to the riverbank, where Goro usually bathed. The elephant was already there, drinking from the cool water. Kibo called out boldly, "Good morning, Goro. I hear you've been telling everyone you are the strongest animal in the forest." Goro lifted his head, water dripping from his tusks, and looked down at the tiny hare. "That's right," he said proudly. "And it's the truth. Look at me. My trunk can uproot trees, my legs can crush rocks, and my weight alone can shake the earth. No one dares to challenge me." Kibo smiled. Perhaps you are strong, but I'm not so sure you're the strongest." Goro laughed, a deep rumbling sound that echoed through the valley. "You, a little hare, doubting me? What could you possibly know about strength? Enough to challenge you," Kibo said, puffing up his small chest. "Let's have a tug of war, you and I. If you win, I'll bow before you and tell everyone that Goro the elephant is the greatest of all. But if I win, you must admit that even the smallest creature can outsmart the mighty." The elephant's eyes widened in amusement. "You challenge me? You must be joking. But fine, I accept. It will be fun to show you how foolish your idea is." Kibo nodded eagerly. "Good, meet me here tomorrow at sunrise. Bring a long vine or rope. We'll each take one end and pull. The one who drags the other over the line wins." Goro chuckled. "Very well, little hare. Prepare yourself to be dragged through the mud." The next morning, the forest was still and quiet as the golden sun rose. Goro arrived early, carrying a thick vine he had pulled from the jungle. Kibo was already waiting for him, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "You're right on time," said the hare. "Now listen carefully. I'll take this end of the vine and go deep into the forest. You wait here until I shout that I'm ready. Then we both pull as hard as we can." "Fine by me," said Goro. "But don't run away, little one. I'll know if you do." Kibo smiled. "Don't worry, I won't run. You'll see." Then, with the vine in his paws, he hopped quickly into the forest. But instead of tying it to himself, he ran all the way to the other side of the jungle, where the river met the open sea. There lived another large creature, the great whale, called Mako, who often came near the shore to rest in the shallow waters. Kibo called out to him, "Good morning, Mako." you look strong today. I've heard the animals say you are the mightiest in the world, stronger than even the elephant." Mako lifted his huge head above the water and smiled. "Well, I am quite strong," he said, his voice deep like thunder. "I can pull anything in the sea." "Ah," said Kibo slyly, "but the elephant says he's stronger than you. He told everyone in the forest that even a whale couldn't match him." Mako frowned. "He said that? I'd like to see him try to prove it." Kibo pretended to sigh. "Well, he's challenged me to a tug of war, but I'm too small to test him. Why don't you take my place? You'll show him who's truly powerful." Mako grinned, his tail splashing water into the air. "Gladly, bring me a rope, and I'll pull with all my might." Kibo held up the vine. "Perfect, I'll tie this to your tail, and on the other end, the elephant will pull from the forest. When you hear me shout, pull with all your strength." The whale agreed. Kibo tied the vine securely around Mako's tail, then hopped back into the forest. He ran and ran until he reached Goro, who stood waiting by the riverbank, holding the other end of the vine. "Are you ready, mighty Goro?" called Kibo. "I've been ready since dawn," said the elephant, gripping the vine tightly with his trunk. "Then pull when you hear me shout," said the hare, and he dashed away to a safe distance between them. Standing in the middle of the forest, Kibo raised his voice and shouted, "Start pulling." At once, both giant creatures began to pull from opposite sides, the elephant deep in the jungle and the whale in the sea. The vine stretched and creaked under the immense force. Goro planted his feet firmly and pulled with all his might, thinking he was dragging the tiny hare. But the vine refused to move. "Ha!" he grunted. "The little hare must be strong for his size." He pulled harder, his muscles straining. Meanwhile, far away, Mako the whale pulled with equal force. "This elephant is no joke," he thought. "He's stronger than I expected." The two giants tugged and tugged, neither able to pull the other closer. The vine stretched tighter, trembling under the pressure. Kibo sat on a rock between them, laughing quietly to himself. The forest shook, and the sea foamed as the two mighty creatures struggled, each believing they were facing the hare. The battle went on for hours. Goro's feet dug deep trenches into the earth, while Mako's tail churned the water into waves. Finally, Goro gave one mighty heave, determined to end the contest. At the same moment, Mako gave a tremendous pull from the other side. The vine snapped in the middle with a loud twang. Both the elephant and the whale fell backward with great force, Goro landing in a muddy puddle and Mako splashing into the sea with a great wave that sent fish flying. Kibo hopped over to Goro, who was covered in mud and panting. "Oh, my dear friend," said the hare, pretending to look worried. "You pulled so hard you broke the vine. Surely you must see now that I am your equal in strength." Goro blinked in disbelief. "How could that be? You're so small. I pulled with all my strength, and yet I could not move you." "Well," said Kibo modestly, "sometimes the size of the body does not measure the power inside it." Meanwhile, on the shore, Mako lifted his head above the waves. "That elephant must be stronger than I thought," he said. "I'll never underestimate land creatures again." And so, both mighty animals were left puzzled, believing they had faced a truly powerful opponent. Kibo, meanwhile, hopped away laughing softly, brains over brawn. He whispered, "That's the real strength." The story of the tug of war spread throughout the forest. The other animals were delighted by the hare's cleverness. They admired how he had outsmarted the proud elephant without using any strength at all. Goro, though embarrassed, learned an important lesson that day. The next time he saw Kibo near the river, Goro called out, "Little Hare, come here." Kibo hopped over, cautious but curious. The elephant bowed his great head. "You are cleverer than I imagined. You taught me something valuable. Strength is not everything. Wisdom can be far greater." Kibo smiled. "And you, mighty Goro, have shown me that even the strong can be humble. That is also a kind of wisdom." From that day on, Goro and Kibo became unlikely friends. The elephant would often carry the hare on his back as they wandered the jungle together. Kibo would tell him stories about other lands, and Goro would use his strength to help smaller animals in need. The forest grew more peaceful as both the strong and the weak learned to respect one another, but the story didn't end there. Many days later, the hare decided to visit the seashore again. He found Mako the whale basking near the surface. The whale greeted him warmly. "Ah, Kibo, my clever friend, did you hear about the mighty tug of war between me and the elephant? I nearly beat him." Kibo grinned. "Indeed, I did hear. You were amazing, Mako. The elephant couldn't move you an inch." Mako's chest swelled with pride. "I knew it. Maybe I am the strongest after all." Kibo chuckled softly. "Perhaps strength is like the tide. It shifts from one creature to another, but both of you were impressive." From then on, both the elephant and the whale lived contently, each believing they had met a worthy rival. And Kibo, the hare, continued his life as the forest's cleverest creature, using his quick mind to help others and sometimes play harmless tricks that taught valuable lessons. Years passed, and the tale of the tug of war became a legend among the animals. Parents told their children about the hare who made the elephant and the whale pull against each other. "Remember," they would say, "never let pride blind you to wisdom, for even the smallest creature can outthink the mightiest." One day, when Goro had grown old and his tusks had turned yellow with age, he sat under a tree, remembering the day he met Kibo. The hare, still agile and quick, hopped to his side. "Do you remember our tug of war, old friend?" asked Kibo. Goro laughed, a deep, gentle sound. "How could I forget? You made a fool of me that day." Kibo smiled. "I didn't mean to fool you, Goro. I only wanted to teach you that the world has many kinds of strength." Goro nodded. "You were right. I used to think power came from muscles and might, but I learned it also comes from the mind and from kindness." The two friends sat together in the shade, watching the sunlight dance on the leaves. The jungle was peaceful, and the air was filled with the songs of birds. It was a reminder that balance between strength and wisdom was what kept the forest in harmony. Many years later, when both Goro and Mako were long gone, the story of the tug of war lived on. The young animals would play their own games, tying vines and pretending to be the mighty elephant and the clever hare. They would laugh and say, "Let's see who wins, the strong or the smart." And every time they played, they remembered the lesson their elders had taught them, that true greatness comes not from size or strength, but from wisdom, humility, and clever thinking. Even the trees seemed to whisper the tale when the wind blew through the forest. And sometimes, when the sea waves rolled gently onto the shore, the sound resembled laughter. Perhaps Mako's, still amused by the day he unknowingly pulled against the elephant in the greatest tug of war ever played. As for Kibo, his story was told across generations, not as one of trickery, but as one of intelligence and heart. He showed that courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it thinks, plans, and smiles quietly. His life became a symbol for all who believed that being small was a weakness. Because through him, everyone learned that cleverness could move mountains, or in this case, make an elephant and a whale dance to a hare's plan. And so, the famous tug of war remained etched in the memory of the jungle and the sea forever. The animals of every size, big and small, fierce and gentle, remembered its message, that pride leads to folly and wisdom leads to peace. The end.